Okay, let's dive in. We've got a really fascinating exploration ahead of us today. It's based on some material you shared, a real classic actually, dives deep into how our inner world shapes, well, everything else.
That's right. Our source for this deep dive is James Allen's text, As a Man Thinketh. It's, incredibly influential, small book, but just packed with this one powerful core idea.
And that core idea, that's really the mission for us today, isn't it? To
Yeah.
unpack Alan's central point, that our thoughts, they aren't just background noise. They're the fundamental force, the architects really constructing who we are, our circumstances, our health, our destiny, you name it.
Exactly. And the source doesn't just present this as like a nice philosophical idea. It frames it as a principle, a law, almost like gravity,
Yeah.
operating in the mind,
Yeah.
cause and effect, just as absolute as in the physical world.
Yeah, that can be pretty confronting right off the bat.
Yeah.
The idea that we might be maybe unconsciously creating our own problems, or, on the flip side, our own successes.
Right. And what's compelling is the text doesn't just leave you with the idea. It actually gives surprisingly clear steps for cultivating what it calls a powerful mind intentionally.
So yeah, buckle up. We're heading into that inner landscape, looking at its undeniable connection to the outer world, the world you experience, all through the lens of this really foundational text. Let's get started.
Okay. So the opening premise, probably the most famous line from the book, it's incredibly simple but profound. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he.
Hmm.
Allen argues this one phrase really covers a person's whole being. It influences every single part of their life.
So it's not just a saying then. The source is really arguing we are our thoughts, that our character isn't fixed, but it's the sum total of everything we've thought over time.
That's the core assertion, yeah. Think of it like a plant growing from a seed. The source suggests every action we take, even the impulsive ones, they spring from these hidden seeds of thought we've planted inside. Joy, suffering. They aren't random, they're the harvest, right? From the seeds we sow in our own minds, how we tend our garden.
I like that image. Being farmers of our own minds, cultivating, harvesting what we sow. And this principle, according to the source, it applies across the board. It's not about luck or anything external.
Not at all. A noble character, the text says, isn't chance. It's the natural result of consistent effort in choosing right thinking. Associating with what the source calls God-like thoughts, basically. High-minded, positive, ethical thinking. And conversely, a, let's say, base character comes from harboring low, negative, or self-defeating thoughts.
So man is made or unmade by himself, using thoughts to build something good or, well, tear it down. That really shifts the sense of agency, doesn't it?
It does. The source really emphasizes that we are the masters of our thoughts, the molders of character, the makers of our circumstances and destiny. As beings with potential power, intelligence, lords of our own thoughts, we hold the key to any situation we face.
The key is inside us.
Precisely. Even feeling powerless or being stuck in a tough spot doesn't change this mastery. It just means we might be acting like a foolish master, mismanaging our inner household of thoughts. The path to becoming a wise master, the text suggests, involves looking inward, deep self-reflection on where we are now, and diligently searching for those underlying principles, the laws of thought that govern us.
And that's searching. That sounds like it takes real, deliberate effort.
Absolutely. It's compared to mining for gold or diamonds. You have to dig deep into the mine of your soul. The way to prove it to yourself, according to the source, is through constant self-observation, controlling your thoughts, changing them intentionally, and then carefully tracing their effects on yourself, on others, on your life circumstances.
It's about connecting cause and effect in your own life through patient practice, investigation, using every little situation as a chance for self-knowledge.
Yeah, the text even quotes the idea, "He that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened," specifically about uncovering these laws of thought. It's presented as a direct result of applying this principle, analyzing your inner world, learning from experience.
Okay, so extending this beyond just character. The source then talks about the effect of thought on circumstances. This is where that garden metaphor comes back strongly, right?
It does. The mind is like a garden. It will produce something, inevitably. If you don't consciously plant useful seeds, your intentional positive thoughts, then useless weed seeds, the negative random stuff, they just fall in naturally and grow their own kind.
Right. Just like a gardener has to weed and cultivate, we can actively tend the garden of our mind, pulling out the wrong thoughts, the useless ones, and intentionally planting, nurturing the right, useful, positive ones.
And through this process, the source claims, you discover you are the master gardener of your own soul, the director of your life. You start to understand firsthand how your inner thought forces are actively shaping your character, circumstances, destiny.
So the idea is character and thought are linked.
Yeah.
Yeah. And our outer circumstances will always harmonize somehow with our inner state. Not necessarily reflecting every single fleeting thought, but connected to our fundamental patterns.
Precisely. The text says every person is exactly where they are in life because of the law of their being. The thoughts they've solidified into character brought them to those conditions. No random chance involved. It's presented as the result of a fundamental law, just unerring.
Hmm. What about situations where you feel totally out of sync with your surroundings? Like you just don't belong there?
Well, according to this view, even that feeling reflects where you are by the law of your being in that moment. The source suggests you're there to learn a specific lesson. Once you understand and integrate that lesson, the circumstance naturally dissolves. It makes way for new circumstances that match your changed inner state.
So we feel like we're just being tossed around by external stuff as long as we believe we're just products of the outside world. But realizing we command the hidden soil and seeds of our own minds.
That's what makes us the rightful masters of ourselves. And the source makes a strong claim here. Anyone who has genuinely practiced self-control, worked on self-purification, they know from their own experience that circumstances change in direct proportion to their altered mental state.
So if you really focus on improving your character, rooting out negative thought patterns, and you make real internal progress, the external circumstances shift rapidly to match.
That's the assertion. The soul attracts what it secretly holds. Not just what it consciously wants, but what it is deep down, both aspirations and fears. It moves towards what it loves, falls towards what it desires. Circumstances are just the means by which the soul experiences the results of its inner state.
Good thoughts lead to good outcomes, bad thoughts to bad ones.
Huh.
The outer world is basically a mirror of the inner world of thought.
And both pleasant and unpleasant conditions are seen as essential for learning, for growth, allowing us, the reapers, to learn through both suffering and joy.
This perspective leads to some, well, powerful and maybe confronting examples in the text, like the idea that someone doesn't end up poor or in jail by chance, but is a direct result of groveling thoughts and base desires, low, destructive thinking. Or that a seemingly pure-minded person doesn't just suddenly commit a crime, it's the outward sign of a criminal thought pattern they secretly harbored and cultivated for a long time.
Right. The core takeaway is that circumstance doesn't create you. It reveals who you've become through your dominant thoughts. Vice, suffering. They don't exist on their own. They stem from vicious inclinations inside. Similarly, virtue and happiness arise from cultivating virtuous aspirations.
So man, as the Lord and Master of thought, is ultimately the maker of himself and the author of his environment. Even the conditions someone is born into are seen from this perspective as revealing something about the soul's state at that point.
And this is a crucial distinction the source makes. People don't attract what they want so much as they attract what they are. Passing whims might get thwarted, sure. But your deepest thoughts and desires, the ones you dwell on, those get fed and manifest. That divinity that shapes our ends, as it's sometimes put, it isn't outside us. It's our very self, built by thought.
We're only really held back, manacled, by ourselves. Our thoughts and actions are either the jailers or the angels of freedom.
You experience what you genuinely earn through your thoughts and actions, not just what you idly wish for, unless those wishes align deeply with your consistent thoughts and behaviors.
This completely reframes fighting against circumstances. From this view, it's like struggling against the effect while actively keeping the underlying cause of vice, maybe an unconscious weakness alive in your own mind.
Many people, the source observes, want to improve their circumstances, but they're unwilling to put in the effort to improve themselves, their inner world of thought. And because of that, they stay bound by the very circumstances they want to change.
But the text suggests anyone willing to undertake that difficult process, honest self-examination, self-improvement, what it calls self-crucifixion, can never ultimately fail to achieve their goal, whether worldly or spiritual. Even aiming for big worldly success, it points out, requires significant personal sacrifice and discipline in thought.
The examples in the source really illustrate this. The person in poverty avoiding honest work while dreaming of better things. From this view, they're attracting deeper struggle because their dominant thoughts, avoidance, maybe resentment, don't match their stated desire. The wealthy person wanting health but not controlling gluttonous habits. Held back by undisciplined thoughts about indulgence. The employer cutting corners, exploiting others. They end up failing in reputation, maybe financially. From this perspective, they are the cause, blaming externals while fostering thoughts that undermine their own goals.
These are presented as pretty stark illustrations that we are often unconsciously the generators of our own circumstances, actively frustrating our good intentions by entertaining thought patterns that are just out of harmony with what we say we want.
Now, the source does acknowledge things are complex. It cautions against judging someone's entire inner state just by their external situation. That's superficial. An honest person might face hardship. A dishonest one might get rich, at least for a while.
But this isn't proof that honesty leads to failure or dishonesty to success, right? A deeper look from this viewpoint might show other thought patterns the dishonest person has, maybe relentless focus that the honest one lacks, and vice versa. The point is, each person reaps the complex results of all their dominant thoughts and actions, not just one part.
It might soothe our ego to think our suffering is just because we're so virtuous, but the source challenges that. It suggests you can only truly claim that after you've purified yourself of every negative, bitter, or impure thought. When you walk that path, the text asserts, you discover this great law that is perfectly just, never giving good for evil or evil for good.
And looking back, eventually, a person will understand their life was justly ordered. All their experiences, good and bad, were the fair unfolding of their evolving inner self.
Suffering, the source states directly, is always the effect of wrong thought. It's a signal. You're out of harmony with the fundamental law of your being, and its highest purpose is purification. It forces you, eventually, to look inside.
Which implies suffering stops when thought becomes pure and aligned.
Exactly. Circumstances that bring suffering result from mental inharmony. Circumstances that bring blessedness are the direct result and measure of right, harmonious thinking.
It's not the lack of material things that causes wretchedness, but the presence of wrong thought. Someone can be rich and miserable, or poor and blessed.
Blessedness and riches only align, according to the source, when the riches are used wisely, in line with right thought. Conversely, a poor person becomes truly wretched when they see their situation as an unjust burden from outside instead of an experience to learn from.
Both extreme poverty and excessive indulgence are presented as forms of wretchedness, both unnatural, both resulting from mental disorder. A person's considered in a rightful condition when they're happy, healthy, and moderately prosperous, a state arising from a harmonious adjustment between their inner and outer worlds.
The text says a person truly begins to become a man in the sense of capable, self-directed when they stop complaining and blaming others, and instead turn inward to search for the hidden justice regulating their life.
As they align their mind with that principle, they stop blaming externals, build themselves up with strong, constructive thoughts, and start using circumstances not as obstacles, but as aids to progress, opportunities to discover their own inner powers.
The universe, from this perspective, isn't chaotic. It's dominated by law, not confusion. Justice, not injustice, is its soul. Righteousness, not corruption, is the shaping force.
By righting himself internally, aligning his thoughts with these laws, a person discovers the universe is right. As he fundamentally changes his thoughts towards things and people, the circumstances and people around him seem to alter toward him.
The source claims the proof is visible in every single person's life. Verifiable through systematic self-examination introspection. It says if you radically alter your dominant thought patterns, you'll be genuinely astonished by the transformation in your material conditions.
The text offers a powerful chain reaction. Thought crystallizes into habit, habit solidifies into circumstance. So, impure thoughts lead to bad habits, which create distressing circumstances. Fear, doubt, indecision lead to weak habits, resulting in failure, lack, dependency.
Lazy thoughts create habits of idleness, maybe dishonesty, resulting in squalor or need. Hateful, judgmental thoughts solidify into habits of accusation, conflict, leading to injury or feeling persecuted. Selfish thoughts breed self-seeking habits, resulting in inherently distressing, isolating circumstances.
And this is the powerful pivot. Beautiful, positive thoughts lead to habits of grace, kindness, generosity, creating genial, sunny circumstances. Pure thoughts foster habits of temperance, self-control, leading to states of repose and peace. Courageous, self-reliant, decisive thoughts build manly, determined habits, resulting in success, abundance, freedom.
Energetic, constructive thoughts lead to habits of cleanliness, industry, creating pleasant, orderly circumstances. Gentle, forgiving thoughts solidify into habits of compassion, leading to protective, harmonious circumstances. And loving, unselfish thoughts lead to habits of self-forgetfulness, service, culminating in sure, abiding prosperity and true, intangible riches.
The core principle is this. A particular train of thought consistently held, will inevitably produce corresponding results in character and circumstances. You can't directly choose which circumstances you face right now, but you absolutely can choose which thoughts you cultivate. And by doing so, you indirectly but surely shape those circumstances.
Nature, or the universe, is described as helping bring about the conditions matching the thoughts you encourage, presenting the opportunities needed to manifest both the good and the challenging parts of your inner world.
The message is, if you stop cultivating negative thoughts, the world softens, supports you. Eliminate weak, fearful thoughts, opportunities arise. Consistently encourage good thoughts. No external fate can bind you to misery or failure.
Your experience of the world is like a kaleidoscope, constantly shifting, presenting patterns precisely adjusted to your ever-moving thoughts. The source includes a poem that captures this. You will be what you will to be, but spirit scorns it and is free. The human will can hew a way to any goal. When spirit rises and commands, the gods are ready to obey. It really emphasizes internal will and spirit as the driver.
Okay, moving now to how thought impacts our physical selves. Effective thought on health and the body. The source is pretty unambiguous here, isn't it? The body is the servant of the mind.
Absolutely. It implicitly obeys messages from our thoughts. Whether those thoughts are conscious, deliberate, or just deeply ingrained habits, thoughts described as unlawful, out of harmony with well-being, are said to lead to disease, decay, while glad, positive, beautiful thoughts are presented as clothing the body with youthfulness and beauty.
So the perspective here is that disease and health, just like circumstances, have their ultimate roots in thought patterns. Sickly, anxious, negative thoughts eventually express themselves through a sickly body.
Yeah, and thoughts dominated by fear are presented as having the power to literally kill, either quickly or gradually.
The text makes a direct link. People living in constant fear of getting sick are often the ones who do get sick. Chronic anxiety is shown as quickly debilitating the physical form.
And impure thoughts dwelling on negativity, envy, resentment, even if not acted on physically, are claimed to shatter the nervous system.
Conversely, thoughts that are consistently strong, pure, happy, they actively build up the body, contributing to vigor, health, grace. The body is described as remarkably plastic, responsive to dominant thought habits.
The source is quite stark. It suggests people suffer physically as long as they propagate destructive or unclean thoughts. A clean heart, meaning a pure, positive inner state, naturally leads to a clean life and a healthy body. A mind full of negativity or corruption will inevitably, from this view, lead to a correspondingly unhealthy physical state. Thought is the source, the fountain. Make it pure, everything flowing from it will be pure.
This implies just changing your diet or external habits won't bring lasting health unless you also change the underlying thought patterns. When your thoughts become consistently pure, the text suggests even the desire for unhealthy food or habits naturally just falls away.
So to perfect your physical body, the core instruction is diligently guard and perfect your mind. To renew physical vitality, beautify your inner world of thought. Emotions like malice, envy, chronic disappointment, despondency, they're seen as actively robbing the body of health and grace.
That's a powerful image. A perpetually sour face isn't random. It's actively created by sour thoughts. Wrinkles aren't just age. Some are described as carved by folly, passion, pride.
Yeah, the source gives this poignant example contrasting an old person like 96 with the bright, innocent look from a lifetime of sweet disposition, with a younger person whose face is already lined and drawn by passion and discontent.
It suggests maintaining a strong body and a bright countenance requires actively letting in thoughts of joy, goodwill, serenity. Like a healthy home needs air and sunshine.
And on aged faces, the source claims you can see the difference between lines carved by sympathy and pure thought, and those etched by hardship, driven by negative passions. Righteous aging is characterized by calmness, peace, a mellowed disposition.
Cheerful thought is presented as the best doctor for physical ailments. A heart full of goodwill is the best comfort in grief.
To constantly dwell in thoughts of ill will, cynicism, suspicion, envy, that's described as building a self-made prison, actively detrimental to well-being. Conversely, choosing to think well of others, staying cheerful, actively seeking the good, that's seen as opening the portals of heaven. The text concludes this section saying that living in peace and goodwill towards every other being brings an abounding internal peace to yourself.
Let's shift now to how this power becomes effective in the world of thought and purpose. The source argues that until thought is linked to a clear purpose, there's no intelligent accomplishment possible.
Right. Most people's thoughts from this viewpoint are just drifting aimlessly. And this aimlessness isn't just inefficient, it's called a vice. It's the root of worries, fears, troubles, self-pity, all seen as signs of underlying weakness.
And weakness, the source asserts, can't endure or succeed in a universe fundamentally driven by evolving power and directed energy. Aimlessness leads to failure and unhappiness.
So the crucial step is conceive of a legitimate purpose, something meaningful to strive for. Make that the absolute central point for organizing all your thoughts. Spiritual purpose, material purpose, doesn't matter. The key is gathering and focusing your mental forces on it.
This chosen purpose should become your supreme duty, a guiding star. Don't let thoughts wander into fleeting distractions or fancies. This discipline is called the royal road to true self-control and genuine mental concentration.
The text offers encouragement even if you fail repeatedly pursuing your purpose. The real success, the lasting gain, is the strength of character built through consistent effort. That becomes a new, stronger starting point.
And for someone maybe not ready for a grand purpose, the source suggests just fixing your thoughts on doing your current duty, whatever it is, faultlessly. That's how you start gathering focus, developing resolution and energy.
The weakest soul, even if fully aware of its weakness, if it embraces the belief that strength comes through effort, it will naturally exert itself and grow strong. It's like physical training, right? Weak mental muscles get strong only by consistent exercise in right focused thinking.
Putting away aimlessness, choosing to think with purpose, that's the key, the source claims, to entering the ranks of the truly strong. Those who see failure not as an end, but a pathway. Who make circumstances work for them. Who think strongly, attempt fearlessly, and ultimately accomplish masterfully.
Once a purpose is clearly conceived, a person should, according to the source, mentally draw a straight path to it, rigorously excluding doubts and fears. These are described as disintegrating elements. They actively undermine effort, lead inevitably to failure.
Doubt and fear. They never accomplish anything constructive, do they? Their only effect is destroying purpose, draining energy, crippling the power to act.
The fundamental will to do anything springs from knowing inside that we can do it. Doubt and fear are the absolute enemies of that knowledge. Giving them space means actively working against ourselves.
So the person who conquers inner doubt and fear, the source argues, conquers failure itself. Their thoughts align with power, difficulties are met with courage, and their purposes naturally bloom and bear fruit.
Thought, allied fearlessly and consistently to a clear purpose, becomes an unstoppable creative force. Understanding this makes you a conscious, intelligent wielder of your own incredible mental powers.
Shifting gears slightly to the thought factor in achievement. Building on purpose, the source states it point blank. All achievement, all failure. Direct, inevitable results of your own thoughts.
Exactly. In a universe operating on just laws, individual responsibility for your inner state and outer results is seen as absolute. Your weaknesses, strength, purity, imperfections, they're all your own creation, brought about and changed only by yourself through your thinking.
Your current condition, any suffering, your level of happiness, all evolves from within you. The core principle again. As you think, so you are now. As you continue to think, so you will remain and become.
From this perspective, even a strong person can't genuinely help a weaker one unless that weaker person is willing to help themselves. And even then, the ultimate development of strength must come from the weaker individual's own internal efforts and choices.
The source even offers a, challenging perspective on the oppressor-slave dynamic. Instead of just blaming the oppressor, it suggests considering the state of the slaves, too.
But the deeper truth presented is that both are seen as cooperators in ignorance, each afflicting themselves through their own thought patterns and behaviors. True understanding, from this perspective, sees an underlying law operating in both. Perfect compassion embraces both without condemnation.
The one who truly conquers their own internal weakness, eliminates selfish thought, belongs neither to oppressor nor oppressed. They are truly free.
The path to rising, conquering challenges, achieving goals is solely by lifting up your thoughts, cultivating higher, more constructive ways of thinking. Conversely, you stay weak, struggle, by refusing to elevate your thoughts.
Worldly achievement, from this perspective, requires lifting thoughts above what's called slavish animal indulgence, just giving in to immediate physical desires without discipline. You don't have to become totally ascetic, but some of that undisciplined energy must be redirected, sacrificed.
Someone whose main focus is immediate gratification can't think clearly, plan methodically, or develop their talents. They ultimately fail, the source claims, precisely because they haven't mastered their thoughts, making them unfit to manage complex affairs or take on big responsibilities.
They are limited, not by external circumstances, but only by the thought patterns they choose to entertain.
The assertion is no genuine progress, no achievement in any area without some level of sacrifice. Worldly success, from this viewpoint, is measured by how much you sacrifice confused, undisciplined thoughts and instead focus your mind on clear plans, unwavering resolution, self-reliance.
The higher you elevate your thoughts, more disciplined, upright, ethical, focused do, the greater and more enduring your external success and achievements will inevitably be.
The universe, the text states, doesn't fundamentally favor the greedy, dishonest, or malicious, despite how things might look sometimes. At its core, it supports and assists the honest, the generous, the virtuous.
This truth, the source says, has been declared by wise teachers throughout history. And you prove it for yourself by consistently striving to make yourself more virtuous through consciously elevating your thoughts.
Intellectual achievements. Direct result of thought energy consecrated to pursuing knowledge, beauty, truth. Sometimes accompanied by ego, sure, but fundamentally grown from arduous internal effort, cultivating pure, dedicated thought.
Spiritual achievements are seen as the culmination of holy aspirations, a result of constantly dwelling on noble, lofty, pure, unselfish thoughts. Leads inevitably to a wise, noble character, positive influence, deep blessedness.
Achievement, any form, business, intellectual, spiritual, is the crown of dedicated effort, the reward of focused thought. You ascend by cultivating self-control, resolution, purity, righteousness, well-directed thought. You descend by giving in to undisciplined desires, indolence, impurity, corruption, mental confusion.
You can rise high but lose it all by letting destructive thoughts, arrogance, selfishness, corruption take root again. Victories need constant watchfulness to be maintained.
All forms of achievement, business, intellectual, spiritual, ultimately result from definitely directed thought, governed by the same underlying law and method, only differing in the specific object pursued.
To accomplish little, sacrifice little effort in controlling thoughts. To achieve much, sacrifice much internal resistance. To attain truly high levels, sacrifice greatly in self-discipline and mental focus.
All right, let's move to visions and ideals. This section opens with a beautiful idea. The source calls dreamers the saviors of the world.
Yeah, it posits that the visible world we live in is sustained by an invisible realm. Humanity itself is nourished, uplifted by the visions and ideals held by solitary thinkers and dreamers. Society can't forget its dreamers or let ideals fade. It lives and progresses because of them.
The composer, sculptor, painter, poet, prophet, sage. These are described as the true architects of our collective heaven, constantly working to make the world more beautiful, meaningful. Without them, laboring humanity would, from this view, lose its soul and perish.
And bringing this back to the individual, anyone who cherishes a beautiful vision, a lofty ideal in their heart, will one day realize it externally. Figures like Columbus, Copernicus, spiritual leaders like Buddha, presented as examples of realizing profound inner visions.
The instruction is clear. Cherish your visions. Hold on to your ideals. Nurture the music in your heart, the beauty in your mind, the loveliness in your purest thoughts. The source promises that out of these internal treasures will eventually grow all the delightful external conditions and environments you could wish for.
If you remain true to your highest visions and ideals, the text says, your entire external world will gradually be built in their image.
To genuinely desire something from this perspective is to start obtaining it. To truly aspire is to start achieving. The source asks, would it be possible for your lowest desires to be gratified while your purest aspirations remain forever out of reach? It states emphatically, such is not the law, ask and receive.
Dream lofty dreams, the text encourages. As you consistently hold and nurture those dreams, you gradually become like them. Your vision is the promise of what you can become, your ideal, the prophecy of the potential you'll ultimately unveil.
The greatest external achievements in history, the source claims, were first conceived as internal dreams, like the oak and the acorn, the bird and the egg. A person's highest potential, an angel, stirs within the soul's highest vision. Dreams aren't idle fantasies, they're the vital seedlings of future realities.
Your current circumstances might feel incredibly limiting, uncongenial. But the text assures they won't stay that way if you consistently perceive and strive towards a higher ideal. You simply cannot make profound changes inside traveling towards your ideal and stand still externally.
A key example given is a youth struggling in poverty and unhealthy environment. By consistently dreaming of better things, consciously cultivating inner powers, focusing thoughts on that ideal, his internal state changes so fundamentally that the limiting workshop environment naturally just falls away. It becomes unharmonious with his new inner reality.
And years later, that same person is shown having realized his vision, wielding significant influence, becoming one with his ideal because he stayed true to the internal blueprint he cultivated.
The source emphasizes that you, the listener, will also realize the vision distinguishing between a focused vision and an idle wish of your heart, whether base or beautiful, because you are constantly gravitating towards what you secretly love and consistently think about. You receive the exact result of your thought patterns, what you genuinely earn through inner cultivation. No more, no less.
Regardless of your external environment, you ultimately rise, remain, or fall according to your dominant thoughts, your cherished vision, your guiding ideal. You become as small and limited as your controlling desires, and as great and expansive as your dominant aspirations.
The text quotes Stan Kirkham Davis on this transformative power, citing examples like a seemingly ordinary accountant captivating an audience on stage, or someone starting as a sheep driver becoming a master artist. Transformations attributed to inner vision and sustained thought.
The text notes that those who are thoughtless lack self-awareness or are indolent. They often only see the external effects. They attribute success to luck, fortune, chance. Seeing intellectual mastery, they label it highly favored. Observing a saintly character, they might say chance aided him.
Right. They failed to see the long journey, the internal trials, failures leading to learning, immense struggles, sacrifices, consistent internal effort, unwavering faith needed to overcome obstacles, and finally realize the inner vision. They just see the final accomplishment, not the internal darkness of struggle. The goal achieved, not the inner journey. The visible results, not the invisible process.
But the source insists effort and results are intrinsically linked. The strength and quality of the inner effort, thought control, self-cultivation, is the direct measure of the external result. Chance plays no part. Your gifts, powers, possessions, all presented as fruits of your internal effort. Thoughts completed, inner objects accomplished, visions realized internally, then manifested externally.
The vision you consistently hold and glorify in your mind, the ideal you enthrone in your heart, this is the blueprint you build your life by. This is ultimately what you will become.
Finally, let's explore the state that arises from mastering thought, serenity. Calmness of mind is described as one of the most beautiful, precious jewels of wisdom.
It's presented as the direct result of long, patient, sustained effort and self-control, indicating ripened internal experience, profound understanding of the laws of thought governing life.
A person achieves calmness, the source explains, as they understand themselves as a being whose character and life evolve from their own thoughts, and as they understand others are subject to the same internal laws. As they see the deep internal connection between cause and effect in everything, they naturally stop being agitated, stop fussing, fuming, worrying, grieving over external events.
They can remain internally poised, steadfast, serenely balanced, regardless of external turbulence.
The calm person, having mastered governing themselves, instinctively knows how to adapt harmoniously to others, to the changing world. People naturally feel reverence for their inner strength, rely on their stable presence.
The more tranquil and centered a person becomes, the source argues, the greater their genuine success, positive influence, power to do good. Even in something like a trader's business, greater self-control, equanimity leads to more prosperity, simply because people are drawn to deal with someone reliably balanced and stable.
The strong, calm individual is naturally loved and revered, like finding shade in a thirsty land or a solid rock in a storm. Who doesn't appreciate a tranquil heart, a sweet temper, a life balanced from within?
These are the blessings of serenity. According to the text, they remain with you, bless everyone around you, regardless of external fortune changes. This exquisite inner poise is seen as the final lesson of self-cultivation, the ultimate flowering of a life well lived, the most beautiful fruitage of the soul's journey.
It's described as more valuable than any amount of external wealth. The constant striving for money seems insignificant compared to the profound richness of a serene life, dwelling securely in internal peace and truth beyond the reach of life's external tempests.
The source laments how many people actively ruin their lives, destroy their potential happiness through lack of self-control, giving into explosive tempers, reactive emotions, constantly shattering their own internal peace. Few, it observes, achieve that deep, well-balanced inner calm.
Humanity, it suggests, often feels like a tumultuous sea, surging with uncontrolled passions, overwhelmed by ungoverned grief, constantly blown about by anxiety and doubt.
Only the truly wise person, whose thoughts are consciously controlled and purified through consistent effort, is able, from this perspective, to command the winds and storms of their own soul, achieving mastery.
To those feeling tossed about by storms, internal and external, the message from the source is hopeful, clear. The isles of blessedness are there, waiting. The sunny shore of your highest ideal is within reach. The key is keeping your hand firmly on the helm of your thoughts.
The Source uses a powerful metaphor. In the bark of your soul, your innermost being reclines the commanding master, your true potential self. He isn't absent, he's just asleep. The task is to wake him through conscious control and direction of thought.
Self-control is presented as fundamental strength. Right thought, consistently positive, constructive thinking is the path to mastery. And serenity is the ultimate, undeniable power arising from this internal control.
The final instruction in the book, say unto your own heart, peace, be still.
Wow. That was quite the deep dive into the inner world and its transformative power as laid out in As a Man Thinketh. It's far more than just abstract philosophy, isn't it? It's presented almost like a direct instruction manual for life.
It really distills one single potent core principle and follows its implications through every single aspect of human experience. Thought isn't passive. It's the active, shaping force behind who we become, the situations we attract, our physical vitality, our ability to achieve, the reality we build from aspirations, and the depth of peace we experience.
And the profound takeaway, repeated again and again in the source, is that the power to influence all this, it isn't outside you. It's not subject to external whims or chance. It resides entirely within you, in the control and conscious direction of your own mind.
So here's a thought to carry with you from this deep dive, a question posed really implicitly by the source. If, as James Allen so forcefully suggests, you are literally becoming what you think and you hold the ultimate key to navigating any situation by being the conscious lord of your own thoughts, what specific thought or ideal will you choose to cultivate, nurture, and strengthen within yourself today, knowing that this choice, more than anything else, will inevitably shape your tomorrow?